that I wanted to touch base on. And let me go and have a look. So, first of all, in property photography, like in anything else, there are some professionals, and then there are those who are just starting, and none of them is better than other. Yeah, because we all have started somehow. So, also I have started somehow, and I think a good question from you would be not what to do when you have been doing this for 10 or 5 years, because as a comparison, if you go to a property developer and say how to earn money, he will say, yeah, buy a property for a million, put a refurbishment, and you're going to be ending up with a few £100,000 profit. Now, but how do you start if you don't have that million, if you understand what I mean? So the thing is, if you don't have the clients, maybe you don't have that experience. Now the good question would be how to start when you are actually at the beginning. And that, I think, is most valuable information at this stage for you, because that's why I ask what level you are and what work you have been done before. And so in property photography, of course, what we have to look out is for the common mistakes. And what are those common mistakes? In general, when taking pictures, everybody assumes that they're good photographers, and you probably have came across this because everybody have iPhones and everybody knows what is good. But at the end of the day, when you are the only person who is doing images, it is fine. But if for whatever reason there is somebody else who is doing images, and for example, estate agencies are sometimes receiving a property for sales or let purposes, and then the landlord has given this property to few people, to few agencies. Now, if you do those images, and even if they are not the best, I would put this way, then they will still be the best images that they have. But if some other agent is after the same property, then what happens is all of a sudden now they come back and they say, look, well, why those images look better? And this is what I wanted to touch base is that at the beginning when I started to do photography, I even revisited one of the properties for 5 times. Yeah. So maybe at the moment, Andrea, I'll put Jesse you on mute because there's a
Yeah, I
side.
think it's best because there's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, yeah. And then basically we're going to get to questions and answers as well, so you'll be able to give the questions. So what it is, I have been revisiting the same property for 5 times. And now why? Because I didn't have the experience. Now that's fine that you learn, and that's fine that we all do mistakes. If you don't do mistakes, you're never going to learn. And what I have learned from this is, first of all, when taking pictures, people take the images from too low angles, and what means if I were gonna now maybe show on a phone. So even if I were gonna, if let's imagine that's a kitchen surface, and if we were to shoot it from this angle, we would actually see the kitchen table from the underneath, and that would be wrong, because if in real life you don't look at the furniture from underneath, we would need to have at this angle, so where we can actually see it and touch the surface. Yeah. So the position of a tripod, whether you adjust it higher or lower, it makes a big difference. Most of the times, it's not about the equipment that you use. And many people think, okay, look, I need specific equipment, and if I'm going to buy a few £1,000s worth of equipment, then my images will be the best. It is not the case. So I have seen revisit some terrible images even with the best equipment, because equipment is a tool that we use to actually produce the result. So now one thing is the position of a tripod, how high you position it, and how do we determine it? It is by the furniture. Now why do we do that? So the lower we go, the more we can see a floor space, because we don't walk on a ceiling, we don't use ceiling, and it is just there. So there's no point to have the tripod high up. So the lower the tripod will be, the more it will going to open up the floor, and the bigger the property will look like. Unlike Andrea was mentioning, that in commercial photography, they just want to know to see the widest angles, and the same here in any other property photography, because you just need to show the more floor space you can show, the better it is. So that's one common mistake when you setting your tripod too low and actually starting to see items or fittings from underneath. Now the second thing is, so that height is one thing. We have to center it, and we have to see that we always look above the kitchen worktops, the furniture, or maybe the window sills and the sinks in the bathroom. Now the second thing is whether we move it left or right. Now, of course, everybody will say that's a common thing, but we have had revisits from my own experience that if you move camera too much to the right, if I were going to now, if that is my angle, and if I move this way, all of a sudden I'm missing this area. Now, all of a sudden I have only like half of the room. But the best angle is going to be from the corner, taking this way, because then I have this angle and I have this angle. So basically I can fit in the whole room. But if I move towards this wall, now I kind of see this corner, but all this information here is lost. And that is essential, because that basically we're going to determine whether you have to revisit the property or no, especially if there is a limited amount of images. And this would more maybe be relevant to estate agency work. When estate agency work is you go in there, you do the job, and you go out from there. Why? Simply because it's quantity, and when you have a large amount of work, then people actually want to pay less, and then there'll be competition between photographers who are going to be able to do it for cheaper. And I would not advise to go and bury yourself in working for free, but somehow you have to get started, and maybe like we done before, we were doing like a free trial. Now I don't do free trials anymore. I just send them the portfolio because I have built it for portfolio. But if you don't have that portfolio, you have to start it somehow. You have to start it somewhere. So just wanted to ask, do you have any questions in regards of the angles of the position when you take a pictures? That's all clear. And I think Andre has really good experience in this, and he knows, he has been doing this for years. Yeah. So the next thing that I wanted basically to touch bases is, as we shared before, some knowledge and experience between ourselves, between Andre and Jesse. Now we have Jesse and Chess as well, who joined. And I wanted to ask, maybe Chess, you can share your experience in your journey of property photography, if you're here. If Chess is not here, then we can maybe ask Jesse.
Sorry, I'm here. I was disconnected from the mic.
All right. So what I wanted to ask, maybe you can share your experience from starting to become a property photographer and to actually being a property photographer. What was the most difficult things that you came across? How do you see the same work now from your position where you're now?
Well, I guess for me, most difficult part was the contact with the people, or when there's problems with access and stuff like that. But
and it often happens that there's problems with access.
yeah, it's almost on a daily basis. Somebody doesn't turn up, or the keys is somewhere else, or they can running late, either you or somebody else. So yeah, that's always interesting.
But my question is, if I assume that you're working about estate agents now mainly,
Mm-hmm.
but if I would say if it's a private clients who are booking,
Then most of the times it's all good.
So private clients, they are more into being on time and providing the access when estate agents.
Yeah, because they don't have to think about many places, because estate agencies, they have loads of properties. But if it's private, it's most likely he have only either his own flat or house, or maybe his relative house. So
Yeah.
most of the times it's gonna be all right.
Yeah, this is a good point. We have had situation today. Jessie is our administrator. She can probably share it. And it was a situation where there was a booking. I don't remember if it was today or yesterday. But basically, it was a situation where we had a job arranged and everything was booked and confirmed. But basically, the agent said, "Oh, I forget about it." And that happens when you work with estate agencies, because they just have a large amount of work. And it's simple as that. If you find one client, which is an estate agent, they may have 10 properties a month. So 10 properties a month in 12 months period, that is 120 properties a year. Now, of course, the question would be, what is easier, to find 120 private landlords or to find just one estate agent who have 10 properties a month? So that would be, everybody's consideration. Also, if working with estate agents, then more likely it's just going to be like going in there, doing the job and getting out of it. That's more like a work. When actually you work for private landlords, that is a little bit different. You build a relationship with them, then you can spend more time, you can more negotiate about the prices, and also you can be more creative. Yeah, and I was speaking to one of the guys in property photography community on Facebook, and he basically was asking this: should I go and work for an estate agent for full time? Yeah, like a full time job. And eventually there was a big discussions, and he ended up saying that, I would rather just stay to my own clients, because he likes to be creative and he likes to actually be doing what he wants. When actually you go and work for an estate agent, it's just a work. So now the question is whether you like to work with camera, then it's job for you. If you don't want to work for somebody, you want to make your own business and build your own relationship, then maybe the best option is either freelance, either finding your clients, especially at the beginning. To find clients at the beginning, it's not that they don't have anybody who takes their pictures. If you're going to come up to some estate agent and say, look, I'm going to offer you property photography, now they have somebody already. Then is the question is, why would they choose you? And that I will going to leave to each of you to answer, whether you can say, I can do a better job, I can provide a better service, I can give you more images, whether I can give you a better price, whatever you decide is the best route to do. But somehow you have to prove that you're worth actually working over to whoever they are working in, have been working in past. My experience shows this. It is investment in long term. So I have been contacting clients, developers, estate agents, and whoever. But I thought to myself, oh, nothing happened, and they never came back to us. But 2 years down the line, 1 year down the line, I have an email reply to what I have sent out before, and they say, look, we actually need this job to do. So maybe they have somebody, and you have approached them in that period when they have already everything fine, and they have no need to switch for another supplier. Now, just today, spoken with one of the ladies from home staging associations, she was telling to me, I was using this lady from Poland, Aga, yeah, and she was very good. She said, I would always work with her, and there's no point for me to change. But because of all the Brexit and all the coronavirus, she have now left back to Poland, and she said, look, I need some photographers to take my pictures. And she said, I know that you've been presenting in the Home Staging Association, so now why don't you come and do the pictures for us? And I say, yeah, no problem, we can do that. So if somebody doesn't take you on board, it doesn't mean that they don't want you. Maybe it's just they're confident, and they, training and adjusting to people and understanding everybody's needs and how to do it takes a little bit of time. So that would be from this point of view. So now we have Dania who joined as well. Hello, Dania. Maybe in few words.
Good evening, everybody.
So what we are doing here, we were now just discussing how it is when you start to do property photography, and how it is when you have been doing it for a long period of time, and what is the difference in terms of completing the job and how you feel, and general understanding of the industry. But you are at the beginning of this. You are actually there to share maybe the struggles of learning property photography. What would you say is the hardest part to learn?
Well, I didn't expect to speak so suddenly. I just finished sent some reports to clients, and I would just.
I can see that you have a tripod, so you're already taking pictures.
Yeah, I was uploading some Matterport and 3D tour scans and many things to do. The hardest thing is just to start.
Yeah.
The thing is just to take camera and start to do something and learn something. And just go on. And as I mentioned last meeting, with 20% of effort, you can achieve actually kind of 80% of material. It takes for a while to master it. But the hardest time is just start learning and practicing.
Yeah, I think that's the key to everything, you know. You have to start somewhere. And from my own experience, how did I start? Like, I started in I started to work with an estate agency, and I didn't have any experience in property photography at all. But what did I say to them? I'm happy to learn. And they were happy to train. So, and that is how it worked out for them. I said, look, because at that time I was doing a full-time job, so I was earning money, and I wasn't worried about money. I was worried about doing what I want. And I said, look, I'm going to provide this service free of charge, because it was a small estate agency. It's called Winkworth. It's a big network, but that's just one office. And I started to work with them, and they basically gave me maybe one job a week. And one job a week, you know, I could always squeeze in before work or after work or on a weekend, and that wasn't the problem. So I was, let me just mute you, Daniel. And as Daniel said, you have to start somewhere. And I started with an estate agency, and what I found out for myself, now you can go and pay to somebody to train you. Now the other option is, if you actually go and work for somebody and you say, look, you don't have to pay me, but I'm not going to pay you for training me as well. But I'm going to do the work for free, and you are going to actually tell me what you want and how you want. And that's what I had done. So basically, they were teaching me for free, and now I use the same knowledge, and I'm actually selling it for money, instead of just going to courses and paying somebody for teaching all the knowledge. And the best part in this, whilst I was doing these jobs for this estate agency, and it wasn't a lot, you know, one job a week, it's fine. It's just a hobby if you like to do it. And I really enjoyed it. But I actually met somebody at the property, and this somebody was another photography company. So he's basically an owner of a photography company who was doing the jobs himself. And he was looking for more photographers to join because they were getting more busier and more busier. Okay, so I spoke to this guy at the property, because that property was basically advertised by multiple estate agents. And he said, look, would you want to work for me? I give you one job a day. And I said, no problem, let's do it. And that's basically how I started. And also he showed the standard and the quality that he wants, that I provide to him. But that basically gave me 5 years knowledge straight away, because they've been working for 5 years. And then basically he just said, look, do you want to work for me? I said, yes. And then he said, look, this is how you need to do, this is what you need to do. And basically it was win-win situation for him, win-win situation for me. When I finished my full-time employment, then I was going full in property photography. And at the moment, we're doing, I think, around 16 jobs a day. But it has been more, and because of all the Brexit and everything, it's just quieted down a little bit. Of course, you don't do that amount of work just one person. I think it is just a teamwork, and that's the only way how you can actually do more, because at the end of the day, there is only a certain amount of hours that you have in a day. Okay. Now, do you have any questions, maybe, Chelsea, about this? You just need to unmute it. Yeah. Let's see. Why does it? You can't unmute someone else. Okay. I cannot. You have to unmute it. I'm not sure where it is. Okay, whilst you find it, maybe Andre, you have any questions? You have to just unmute it.
I can. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was wondering if is there any market for virtual tours, because I did a lot of them, and I think I have a pretty vast portfolio of hotels and stuff like that. Is there any market for that?
Definitely, there is. Definitely, yeah. My question is, how do you do them? You do with a photo camera?
Yeah, I have actually I can show you. I have like a small lens. Yeah, see, something like that. See?
Yeah.
This is the Sigma 8mm, and then you have a like a support, and it's very easy to do. Actually, it's extremely easy. Like in 10 minutes you can do like 2 or 3 rooms. So that's why I'm asking if is there any chance to get to that area.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Let me answer to this. As from the time when the coronavirus has been blocking everything and stopping all the industry and put everybody on a lockdown. Now we come out from the lockdown and the government says you have to use the virtual tours wherever it is possible. That means government is actually basically doing the sales pitch for us. No longer we have to go to a client and say, I am doing a virtual tours, but the government is actually advertising our services. And now we just are in the right position in the right time, and we just need to make everybody aware of that we are those people who they need. And I have been contacted by large companies, and before I was just trying to get hold of it. They would never gonna come back to me, even I was leaving some messages or speaking to secretaries, and I could never speak to the person in charge. Now I have emails coming in and saying, look, do you do virtual tours? And when we reopened after the lockdown, what happened? I have literally like tens and tens and tens of emails just inquiring about the virtual tours. In the whole year, we have done 50 3D virtual tours. Maybe now it's already 60 or even more in the whole year. But before the lockdown, we have done 10. And in the last few weeks, we have done 40. Now, that means we do 10 virtual tours a week. Yeah. And probably the numbers are much higher, but I'm just from what I can remember from the top of my head. And Andre had a very good question. And before we had in the previous meeting, we had a few people who were also interested in this. So I have made some comparisons to the virtual tours, and I will be able to share this. So what it is now, why do we have this virtual meeting at the moment? It is because everybody has used to those Zoom meetings, and somebody is just joining 1 second. So because we are used to all those Zoom meetings, yeah. Also, because people now staying at home, they are used to buying online, Amazon and the others, because they just simply couldn't go out to the shops. And the same thing is with properties. Now, estate agents still want their commissions, yeah, but they also have to follow certain rules, and because of that, they have to have those virtual tours, because it will gonna give them advantage over any other estate agency, because not only the estate agent don't want to travel unnecessarily, but also the tenants and people who are buying the property. Because I was speaking to one of the photographers and I said, you know, would you want to come for a training, and so we can actually see how is your work quality and then give you the jobs. And so basically she said that at the moment I would prefer to avoid unnecessary travel. So that is the situation with tenants and landlords as well. If you can avoid unnecessary travel and have everything virtually, then that is what they were going to go for. And if there is an estate agent who are going to offer virtual tours and you're not offering virtual tours, they were going to more likely go with them. Yeah, because people are used to now buying online, because all shops were closed, and to all these Zoom meetings, because it's simply people couldn't communicate with their families like before. Now that has forced everybody to go online, and like I mentioned, that in a few weeks' time we have done more than we have done in the whole year before, if we talk about the virtual tours. Now here I will going to share a screen, and I will show you two virtual tours, and I will show you the difference in quality. And maybe, Andre, it will going to be helpful to you as well. So 1 second, let me just open them up and share the screen with you. And I want to actually, you know what I was going to do? I was going to show them. I'm not sure whether you'll see the quality because of the internet connection, because you have to have good internet connection to see the resolution difference. But I will share those links in the chat as well, so you're going to be able to play around with them. Yeah. So. All right. So now you should be able to see the screen, and here is the same property in done with two different cameras. Now this is called a Matterport software that we use. So on Matterport software, you can use your iPhone, you can use 360 cameras. There's a variety of them, and you can use their camera, which is the Matterport Pro 2 and Matterport Pro 2 Lite. The difference between Pro 2 and Pro 2 Lite is one has longer battery life, different membership subscriptions. Pro 2 and normal one has longer battery life, better membership prices, but again it is more expensive, and the equipment itself costs almost £3,000. Now if I zoom in here on the sofa, yeah, so we see the quality of this sofa, and now I will going to go to the same point, and I will zoom in on the same sofa. Now we see the difference in the sofa.
Sorry, Peter, are we supposed to see anything? Because I can't see anything but yourself. I can't see any of the links or videos you're sharing.
Are you looking from the phone? Are you watching from the phone?
Yeah.
So maybe you have to swipe left or right. Maybe they're different screens. I'm not sure how does it work from phone.
No, not that I see you. It's okay if I can take the links at a later point from you. That's fine.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go too much in demonstrating how they look like, but I'm just going to share the links in a chat box.
That's fine. I'll take that later then.
And show you the cameras that I have used. 360. And here. Okay. So you will be able to play around, and the answer to Andre's question is a good thing to do a virtual tour. I would say yes, definitely. And now if you look at those two cameras, Insta360 costs £400. Matterport Pro 2 cost about £3,000. So I wouldn't recommend anybody going into it straight away. And like Andre said, he could do virtual tours from his camera by using the adapter and stitching the panoramic images together. This is a software that does it automatically, but then you have to have 360 camera. So this way, if you do a quantity, then definitely this would be a product that you can sell it for cheaper price, spend less time on the property, and have everything ready quick for the client. When in your case, when you have to stitch everything together manually, you would probably spend time on the post-processing and also then rearranging all the tour, and then you would have to include this in your price, and then it would going to be a question, how competitive are you in the market? If somebody would going to, for example, come up with this Insta360 camera and just having the membership. Now then the second question would be how big quality the clients need, what quality they need. And there's a variety of these cameras, and there's this camera called Giraffe 360, also based on membership. You can have that camera free of charge, but you have to pay membership for each model that you upload. Yeah, and I think it works out something around £1,000 per 10 of those tours in a month, and then they do hosting and the rest of those things. But then you don't have to invest anything in equipment. If you again buy Insta360 camera, you buy it yourself and then use the Matterport and just pay for a subscription of hosting where they host all the virtual tours. Or if you buy a Matterport, which is £3,000, and then basically it comes with a lot of features. And also from Matterport camera, you can do a snapshots, which you then can use as images, because we've seen that the quality is high definition. So well, basically that means that when you go and do 3D virtual tour, you can do snapshots, and then you can say to the clients, I'm going to do 3D virtual tour, but also I'm going to give free property pictures with that. So that is the benefit of it. It's just a kind of idea for you, Andre, to understand what you're against, and then thinking whether you can compete with that, and then maybe just come up with a price package and samples. And definitely this is the time to go to the clients and say, look, I'm doing 3D virtual tours, because that is the time when actually they ask for them. And we have actually purchased a few extra of those Matterport Pro 2 cameras, because at the moment they are the best option for us we have found on the market. Yeah, I hope I answered all your questions, Andre, and if you have anything else, let me know. I can share with you, but you just need to unmute it.
Yeah, just I was wondering also about the price. It's what's the average price for a job in virtual tours?
Okay, so for virtual tours, so I have I'm in a group, member in property investors group and other property meeting groups, and one of the guys done like a market research, and he said virtual tours were going to be priced something from £125 up to £800. Yeah. I would not say that £800 is something that you would say, okay, that's realistically to get per property. No, that is probably somebody who don't know what they're buying, and then you just find somebody who you can actually overprice. But that wouldn't be a business that you can actually grow and continue working that business, because sooner or later they'll find out that there's somebody who prices it reasonably. Then the second thing is the question, how big is the property and what type of a property? Because let's say £125, that's all right if you do it maybe in a day or half day, and that's okay. But if you have to spend maybe 2 days and 3 days, maybe after in post-processing and doing the other things, then it's £125 are not going to work for you. You're not going to be able to pay the bill. So taking in consideration, how do we charge? We charge per scans, because we include 70 scans, so 70 points in a property. Like you said that you can do it in 10 minutes, 3 rooms, that's 3 scans. So we include 70 scans in each package that we provide for Matterport virtual tours. Yeah, anything over 70 scans would be charged as extra, because basically the more we are going to scan, the more time we're going to spend, the more we have to charge to the client. Yeah, and if we don't spend the time, then that's fine. Then if you go in and go out and spend there on average, maybe a virtual tour we're going to take 1 hour if it's 1 bedroom flat, studio flat up to 2 bedrooms, and a house maybe we're going to take 1.5 hours, because in Matterport tours you have to align through the stairs and the rest of it. When, let's say in your case, you don't have any points on the stairs, you just have hallway and the next hallway, and just put the arrow which leads you to the next 360 view. So the price point would definitely be determined by the amount of hours you spend. Yeah. Now the second question is how efficient you can be at what you do, and at what quality you are producing that work. Because we've seen the Insta360 is a camera that you can buy for cheap price. Yeah, let's say realistically £400. Yeah, but if an estate agent only wants the online viewing, they will be able to do the online viewing with this product. For example, if you have the equipment, you have a camera and they need quality images, you can do with camera quality images. And 360 virtual tour with this Insta camera through this Matterport software, you can just add it as an extra, because for you it really will not going to cost time, because you just scan it, you purchased once the camera, and that's it. You just added the value to your product. And why would they go now for another photographer who just going to do property pictures if you're going to do property pictures and also the 3D virtual tour? If you come to a point where you would want to upsell yourself as a 3D virtual tour master, or maybe just going to this market, then definitely you would not be able to compete in the quality, and people would just going to go to somebody else who has a better quality. Then you have to think whether to get a different camera, what platform to use, and whether to use the technique that you have. Yeah, I hope this answered the questions about the virtual tours. So now the next thing what I wanted to touch bases is timing for each job. I would say at the beginning, when you do anything, you will probably spend crazy amount of time on doing just simple things, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. That's just a learning curve for everybody, and the same was for me when I started. And I know some people who actually have been doing a simple floor plan that now would take me maybe half an hour. For somebody at the beginning, it take like 3, 4, 5 hours to do it. Yeah. And the same applies to photography. At the beginning, I always advise everybody to overshoot, to have more images than to have less images, because with the time you basically just define what is necessary and what is not necessary, but you avoid situations where the clients are unhappy and where you have to do revisits. Now, when you go to negotiations with your client, it has to be clearly explained what you're going to be delivering and how much you're going to be delivering, because if you don't be specific on how many images you'll be delivering, then you may end up overdoing it and spending time and basically not receiving money for it. And we have had the situation where somebody was asking to one of our photographers, could you do this, could you do this, could you do this? And the photographer basically didn't stick to what was booked. And then when it come down to payment, we said, look, we were doing so many images, we were editing all of them. Now that would be an extra charge. And they said, look, I'm not happy to pay for it. I just asked the photographer and she said that she's happy to do it. So basically you may end up being in a situation where you have to pay for your own time. So therefore, just being clear at the beginning up front, what you're going to be delivering, covering yourself at the beginning and overshooting, that is always the best thing to do. Yeah. Now, standard photos for let's say average property, 3-bedroom, yeah, 3-bedroom, mid-terrace, and terrace doesn't matter, terraced house. I would say photos only if you're skilled. If you do only wide-angle images, 45 minutes, you can do it in 35 minutes. It really depends on whether you have to move any things around, whether everything it is ready for shoot, or maybe some people just shoot as it is. I would always say it's no point to shoot shooting as it is, because let's say you're in a model, you're a photographer, fashion photographer. Jesse, if I'm right, you are a fashion photographer? Yeah. So if you see a model who has the hair sticking out like this, you would not take a picture. And that's the same if you go in a property and you see that big bin in front of you. You're just going to take that bin aside, take the picture and put it back. You know, simple as that. Of course, like in fashion photography, like you, Jesse, was mentioning, it is not that you're going to become a makeup artist and actually now doing all the makeup and everything for the models. Of course, you can do that. And that's the same in property photography. So there may be people who want you to stage, but therefore there is staging companies, and therefore there is photographers. And of course, there may be photographers who do staging, there may be photographers who do makeup, and there may be one-man band and doing everything together. But in general, if we talk about property photography, then we just organize the things. And if you see that model maybe is not looking good and great, and maybe the shirt is not in the right position, you just tidy up a little bit, make it look presentable, and then make those shots. And that's the same as property. So we don't start cleaning properties. We just basically arrange, maybe open up the curtains, open or close the door, switch on the lights. Maybe if there's something that needs to be moved aside, maybe something needs to be taken out. That's what we do. And that's why there's a difference between half an hour and 45 minutes in mid-terrace property. At the beginning, when I started to do it myself, I was spending maybe 1.5 hours per property. Mainly because I was playing with flashes and I didn't know how to do it, and the pictures wasn't coming as good as I wanted. And it is about just learning the techniques, and there's 2 techniques to use it. One is bracketing, which is going to be one of the easiest options to learn. Exposure bracketing, probably you can find multiple YouTubes online, and if you want, I can just in the next meeting prepare more information about this. Yeah. The second is working with flash or extra lighting. Yeah. We don't take any extra lighting like a special setup to properties, because simply you're just going to be too much to carry around and you're not going to be worth that. We use flash. And flash you can just pack in your bag, and then after it is down to editing, and editing plays 50% in all this what we do. So 50% is actually the work of the property and 50% is the editing. So editing plays a big part. That would be how I would consider. Now I have had a client now who they basically is a platform, and they are similar to like Airbnb, so where people can just register their properties and then they were going to advertise. And they basically wanted to offer a service, but they also would provide a photography for them. And of course, realistically, they just think that's like you go in there, take your pictures, go out. But to be honest, you have to plan that not always access is as arranged, because maybe the tenant is supposed to be at home, but the tenant went to the shop, so you actually end up waiting for those 10 minutes, 15 minutes just to get to the property. That is one thing. Maybe you cannot find the property, and also even if you have property address and property postcode, you may still travel around. There may be delays in traffic and so on. Plus the time you set up everything and take the pictures, and so you cannot just go in a property and say, okay, step aside, I'm doing my work. You just be polite, you explain what you're going to be doing, how long you're going to be doing, if there's any questions, you answer them. So that all needs to be taken in consideration. And if you're fast and straight to the point, yeah, half an hour, 45 minutes, it's okay. But I would say you plan for a standard mid-terrace house 1 hour, and you'll be on the safe side, and that means it is 1 hour job. If I do 3 properties a day, for me it is like working a part-time. Yeah. So why do I say that? 3 properties a day is literally working only 3 hours. The rest of it is actually traveling to a property, and from property maybe gaining access. Yeah. So that is how the timing looks like for the property. Hello, Federico.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Very, very good. Nice to see you joining us. We are just going through the timing and just going with the schedule, but maybe you can share some tips and maybe you can share some experience of yours as a property photographer. We have done some introductions already, but I have seen your work, and I know that you are doing quite a lot of properties as well.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I can't see myself, so I don't know if you see me.
But we can see.
Anyway, yes, I work in this maybe 2-3 years. I joined in. I turn up in property photography, and yes, before I was a video editor and cameraman, you know. So I really enjoy this job. I mean, it's fine, and yeah, I'm Italian, as you can hear from my accent. Yeah, I'm based in South London. I'm in Croydon.
Yeah. Why you decided to go from video to photography?
Well, I don't know. I don't know because I'm fascinating by the not property photography, but by the way, by the how do you say architectural photography.
Yeah.
So as soon as I start in this industry, I start to enjoy and found something new which was good for me and nothing, and I keep going on and
So how many properties a week do you do then?
So basically I do maybe 18, 20 property. Yeah, and I used to do flambient techniques, which is flash plus ambient, where I do basically I do three exposure, a bracket of three exposure, which is 0 and
-1,
+2.
+1.
Yeah, the classic one, and then one with the flash. Then I used to blend in Photoshop, and I used to do with the luminosity layers, blending on the flash, stuff like that. Yeah.
So I can hear that you have a great experience here in this industry, because from what you can say and the techniques that you use, because we were just touching bases on the timing, how much time it takes in a property, and as I mentioned, it depends from the technique you use, whether you do exposure bracketing or use flash, and then it comes down to reflections and the rest of the things. But my question is for you, maybe, Federico, how long would you say it takes for you to do mid-terrace property photos only?
Yes, depends. There is many factors. I mean, depends how many bedrooms the house.
Let's say
Yeah,
3 bedroom mid-terrace.
2 bedrooms.
3 bedrooms. Three.
Bedrooms. Anyway, it won't keep me long than 1 hours. Yeah, it won't keep long the 1 hours. I mean,
thank you. Yeah, for this is just what I was saying. So if you plan for 1 hour, you're going to be on the safe side. Yeah. So yeah, if it's very good and easy job, you can do it maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. But if you plan for 1 hour, that's good. If you finish earlier, you can just grab a coffee on your way to the next
that's
job.
it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes it's better that you can bring home few more shots than less that you need. I mean, if you go there and you think about, oh, this house is maybe I need 10, 12 shots, but I can do even 15 or 18 and spend 1 hour on site is better, because once you are home and you see your shot and you say, oh, maybe I could do, something more, I could do this one, I could do that. So it's better have more shot than less shot, it's always better.
Always.
This is always better.
Yeah, now this is a good point, Federico, and that's what I was mentioning at the beginning. I would always recommend to everybody, just overshoot, shoot more than is required, but just have that baseline that you're going to say, look, to a client, I will deliver this amount of images. Because if you start to deliver unlimited amount of images to the client, and eventually you understand the client, is not paying for all that hours that I'm spending there. When you're going to say, look, I'm going to reducing the amount of images, they're going to be unhappy. So even though if you overshoot and have more exposures for yourself and you deliver whatever you promise to the client, that's great. Because if they are not happy with 1 or 2 angles, you always have some angles to have it on the side. And what we do, how we have structured this standard photography, which would be the wide angles only, is that we always have 50% extra. So let's say if we deliver 10 images, then we have 5 extra images. Yeah. And that means that I will not going to be overdoing it and spending all my day in the property, but just in case I'm on the safe side. So I always have something if it is needed.
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's what it is, because I think you, Federico, already that sometimes when you overdo it and spend too much time again, that's no good as well. So missing something is no good, but overdoing and then basically not being paid for it, it's also a stumbling block. So we don't want to be in one place or another. We have to find a balance. And the balance for me that we have found is that we deliver, let's say, 10 images to the client, but we shoot 15 images. Yeah. If you deliver 25 images to client, shoot 50. Yeah. So you have, you know, not 50, but you do like 35 or whatever. So you have at least those 50% extra.
Yeah, it depends even how many, if you are secure or what are you doing. I mean, if you are, you know, oh, I'm not sure what I'm doing, so it's better if I take another pictures, because so if you know what's your job, you can go and I'm saying, I don't know, take straight 10, 15 pictures, because you know what are you doing, and you know that the house is, or the flat, it doesn't need no more than 10 pictures or 12 pictures, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's because you are confident with your job. You are confident with what are you doing. You know what I mean?
Exactly, I understand. And the confidence only builds with experience. So you all have to start somewhere. And like I mentioned, whether you do a friend's house or maybe you do for somebody, as I started just doing this as a hobby, not as a main income. And then once you have the knowledge and once you have the skills and once you have the confidence, then you can actually charge accordingly. And this is the way I have done it. And now, of course, always you have to start somewhere, and even if you spend more time on the property, that is the best way to do it. Yeah. So let's touch the second topic that we have. So we are going with some plan, and here would be the next question is how to get clients. Yeah, and I understand one thing is how to start doing the job, and the next would be, okay, but you actually need to have clients for who you do the work. Yeah, there is multiple ways how to do that, but one thing for sure, we will always need to say to people what we do. And you may understand, you may assume that if I told somebody that I'm a property photographer, they know that you're a property photographer. They don't know. Sometimes you have to repeat yourself 5 or 10 times until they just understand, and they say, yeah, this guy is the photographer, this guy is the property photographer. And I have found myself the same situation, that I have mentioned to somebody about a product or service that we do, and they just ignore it because they're focused on something, and they, let's say, even don't read the email if you send an email. Yeah. Then I approach them in maybe in a few weeks' time or in a month's time, and I say, look, this is who I am, and I wanted to ask, do you have any properties that I could help you with in terms of property photography? Yeah, and also it goes hand to hand in follow-ups, because like I mentioned before, if you approach somebody, they have already somebody who is doing the work. Yeah, but maybe that is not the right time to approach them. But there may be a situation where the photographer is maybe on a holiday, or maybe the photographer may be sick, and at the moment, this now is the time to start doing property photography. And you know why? I will tell you why. Because government is motivating everybody not to work. So people are staying at home and they are getting paid for it. Now, if I will ask to anybody, would you like to come and do some work, or would you like to be paid and staying at home? Of course, people would choose to stay at home and be paid. And that means if there is a business owner and business owner wants to promote his work, what he is doing, he is actually trying to get those deals done, and he is making those arrangements, but he still needs somebody to do the pictures. Now, business owners were going to want to work whether there is coronavirus or no, because they are not paid for just being there. They're paid for actually providing service. So that is, if you compare, if you are paid per job or you are paid per hour. If you have this per hour mentality, then you'll be staying at home and waiting for somebody to pay you for doing nothing. But in reality, we know you do nothing, you eat nothing. Yeah. But when you are a business owner, you actually, what you do, you actually try to make those deals, especially, let's say, estate agents and developers, because they have mortgages, finances, they have commitments. They maybe have kids or whatever they have to pay for and provide for the family. And now they need photographers, but the photographers, they get paid because they are on freelance or full-time and they stay home, and that means that all of a sudden there is a big demand. And I can tell you from our experience that at this moment where we are now, that we have more work than we actually have people who want to work. And why? Because clients want the job to be done, but there's simply not enough people who want to do the job. Also, part of this meeting, why I'm doing this meeting, is to share the knowledge between property photographers and also to find skilled people. Because if, let's say, you come to this meetup and you come here to learn and you show that you have good skills and good knowledge, and if I see, for example, oh, you know what, maybe Federico is very good at what he does, and I actually have work, but I have nobody who can do it, I can say, you know what, I know Federico, I can give him the job. So I'm, as a business owner, and also from my point of view, I need people who want to work. Yeah, and that's why if you want to start to work in this industry and you are the ones who provide service, simply at the moment there is not enough service providers, because still many people are staying home and they're being paid for it. So that means whoever is working, yeah, they are having advantage, because when the benefits will stop, what will going to happen? There will going to be a second crash, but that will going to be a mental breakdown. So at the moment we have what? We have the virus, and in my environment and people around me, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I'm saying people around me haven't been affected with this virus. So I cannot say this person had the virus, at least I don't know. But I can name people who have been affected by the panic and fear, yeah, of looking online on the conspiracy theories and so on. And that actually has basically, they're sitting on their mind and they start to do less and think less and being scared and actually scaring other people around them, you know, just speaking negativity around. But there is a third thing that we're going to happen now that I have find a trend is when you have been doing nothing for a long time, you are used to it. And like my brother, he said he was on a honeymoon for 1 month. So literally 1 month he took off and he was just traveling, and he is a business owner of his own. So what happened? When he returned to work, he was saying, look, I'm depressed. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm like, you know, I'm lazy and so on. He said it was a difficult time for him. It was going to be a difficult time for everybody to go back to normal and actually start work if you're used to not working. And now if, let's say, we start to build the clients and we actually move forward at this stage, we can actually develop this relationship with the clients at the moment, because simply they need us now more than before. And then after, because after there will be so many people who provide the service, at the moment we are exclusive and they need our services. And once we have established this relationship, they have no need to go and change to another photographer, because they already know the quality that we provide. So this is how I see. How we can get the clients is actually to use the right time, and the right time is now. Yeah, and I do understand. You know, many people can be in a situation and just think, how do I start? Where do I start? You start with something. So sooner or later, we're going to come to a point where you have actually to visit the property. You actually have to start to do the job. And when I started property photography myself, I didn't know zero. I didn't know anything of property photography. I only did know event photography. But therefore, I couldn't be charging high price, because how can you charge high price for a service that you cannot deliver? Yeah. And if anybody of you want to know more about techniques and any specific questions, feel free to ask. I'm planning to do these meetings twice a month. Then we can discuss more specific topics. But if I don't know what are the topics that you're interested in, I cannot prepare and I cannot share this information. And also what I want to do, I want to also maybe encourage more and more other property photographers who are in the industry, who have been doing it already, went through from starting the work from zero to actually doing all the work on luxury properties and so on. Yeah, to explain how they went from 0 to where they are now. And so the most expensive property I have been, I think is 20,000 million, and it was next to Regent's Park, and it was empty for 10 years. Nobody was living there, but it's just somebody has so much money that they can keep that empty property for a long time. So yeah, these jobs are interesting. Yeah, we visit flats where you have 2-bedroom flat, and in 2-bedroom flat you have a swimming pool. So how do you have swimming pool in a flat? I'm not sure, but but there are those properties as well. And of course there are properties which look terrible. Yeah. And so that would be about the clients. And I say, now, literally, how do you do that? You can approach an estate agent directly, just going there in office. That's one of the way. Second is, I think it's a good option to actually send letters. It will going to cost a little bit because you need to have the postmarks and the rest of the things. But you have received letters from estate agents in your house, definitely, with all the properties that they're selling. That's the same way how you can approach them. Let me just put Frederick a little bit on mute because there's sound. And also, good option is we have done just you look at the local estate agents that you have and just send them an email, but you have to follow up on it, because if you just send them once, it may just go to a spam folder. You can just send them letters. Maybe you can just pop by and maybe you can just give them a call and say have a look at the email that you sent. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you're going to get the job straight away, but it means that you are going to get it eventually. Yeah. But at this moment, like I mentioned, if you approach there and just say, look, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, at least you now have told that there is a person who is willing to work, because at the moment there is just simply not enough people who want to do the work. And I know that I have been in this photographer on a Facebook group, property photographers community, and I know that other photographers are saying the same. Those who work, they say at the moment there is just more work than actually people who can do it. Later on, maybe when everybody comes down from the lockdown, then it's all going to return back to normal. But this is the moment where you can actually say, look, this is me, I'm here, I'm ready to do it. The question is if you have all the equipment. If you have the equipment, then great. If you don't have, then definitely you have to have to buy it. Yeah. Now the next thing is what I wanted to touch bases is floor plans in property photography, and do we need to know them? So I have had this question about the floor plans, and I have also worked with photographers who are saying that they don't know how to do floor plans. For example, for us, it would be the situation if there is one person who can only do floor plans. I can just give him a floor plan. I can just give him photos only job and don't give them the floor plan work. But what it is, we have 50% of photography is photography on its own, but 50% is photos and floor plan. That means if you only do photos only, you're going to be able to take only half of the amount of the available job that is out there. And eventually, people like everything that is easy. And if you can say, look, I'll make it easy because I'll do everything, instead of you trying to find somebody who's going to do floor plan, somebody who's going to do pictures, they need to do 2 times arrangements, maybe 2 times the payment. And also what happens is the most expensive thing is the time. And why I'm saying this, if you go to a property, maybe you spend half an hour to go get there, then you do the photos, and then you go back half an hour. You need to include the half an hour to the property, half an hour back from the property in that price that you charge to a client. But if you go to a property, do photos and floor plan, then travel back, you only charge once the travel, because that is the time that it doesn't change. It only changes the amount that you spend on the property. But if there's 2 people who one is doing pictures, one is doing floor plan, now both of them will charge the travel as well, because otherwise you may end up just traveling and earning nothing. Yeah, so whenever you figuring out how much you're going to be charging for a service, you have to think what areas I will cover, how long it will take me to travel, how long it will take me to do the job, and then how much I need to spend on post-processing, and then how much I need to charge. Because let's say if you will charge £50 for a photo shoot, and then you'll be spending the whole day, then it is better to work in a restaurant, yeah, for example. Yeah, so but if you charge accordingly, then there's no problem, you can spend the whole day. But then the question is whether the client needs the full day rate or no, and that depends of a client type you have. And if that is, let's say, developers and home stages and so on, they sometimes they want to spend the time with the photographer. They move things and then you retake it and then you help them stage and all the things, and then it takes basically the half of the day, and they actually want to have that quality. And I know I have been working with quite a few of home stagers, and what it is, they are not interested in just quick go there, do the pictures, go out. Because eventually, if you stage property and you cannot show in pictures that what you have staged, now what is the point of all the staging? Because you stage the property only to make it presentable on the images, because then you put it online, people are looking at the images and they want to sell it or buy it, and then when they move in, you say it is unfurnished, so you move out the furniture. Yeah, but if you stage and spend, let's say, maybe £2,000 on staging the property, hiring all the furniture and the rest of it, and then the picture doesn't come up good, then then there is no point of it. There is no point of spending £2,000. So therefore, if you do that kind of work, I don't think there is a point of compromising on the amount of on the money that you pay for the photographer. Because eventually, I even have had a question in the home staging association. There was one lady, she said, can you do pictures with a phone? And I said, of course you can, but my question is, what is the point of staging property, yeah, and then taking picture with a phone? Then it's rather don't stage it at all and just pay for a photographer, and he'll gonna make that property to look nicer than your stage property with the phone pictures. Eventually that it will be a cheaper option. Yeah, so that would be how I look at the floor plans, whether you need them or no. If you do yourself, then of course you can package it, and your products are going to be more appealing to the clients. You'll be able to do more work. Can you find work without floor plans? Yes, like home staging clients, Airbnb clients, but also some of them are going to require the floor plan. So which means, and then you're just missing out. Yeah. Anybody of you have any questions about the floor plans? Or that's all clear? Everybody knows floor plans? Have done them? If no, everything's possible to learn as well. And also, if you have any questions on the plans, then you can let me know, and I can give you some information and show you some samples as well on how we do it and what we do. Daniel was unmuting and he wanted to say something about floor plans.
Yeah, I'm just was laughing. I hope so. I know what it is and how to do that. Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah, that's a good that's a good answer. I hope so. Yeah, I don't think that hope we're gonna help. I think we have to know, and when we go to a property, the client will also hope so that you know them. Yeah. So yeah, let's hope that we all know them. But if you don't know them, don't be shy. Just drop me a line, and then for the next meetup that we do, I can actually prepare some samples and go into details. But there's no point for me to touch the points that people already are familiar with. Yeah. The next point that I have here that I wanted to discuss is working with no pay. Yeah. Before when we started, I was giving an example of myself. So I did work without payment. Why did I do it? I consider, and when I look at the things, I look this way: what do I have? What can I provide? And why would they need to have it? Now, I was thinking to myself, now I don't know property photography. I would like to do property photography, and why would I need to have somebody who don't know the photography, but he wants to do photography. Now they want to save money. Now, okay, fine. So what can I do? I can give them actually something without any cost, which is actually my time. But then I will build up my knowledge and experience this way, because of course that's not a business plan. That is basically just how to get started, because I was working full-time job and I was earning money. But you know, if I do one job a week and I just learn from that, and it's just my hobby, you know, you can do it on a weekend or before or after work, then that's fine. And then the agent always was saying, oh, you know, I don't like this, and so I reshoot it. I would prefer this way. I would say, yes, no problem, let's do it. And it basically was a free training for me. So instead of paying to somebody, they gave me all the knowledge, and they gave me the experience that I needed, because now I have the knowledge and experience, and I also have my portfolio. And when I go to a client and a client is asking me something, I can say, look, this is my portfolio, this is what I do. At the beginning, also when I started this, I was giving a free trials to your clients. Yeah, because what it is, it's just like, you know, you have seen on the streets, they give like a coffee, or they give you like a piece of cake just to try it out a little bit. So in this case, I was doing like, you know, I was going to do a free trial. I was going to show them what I do and how I do. Yeah. And most of the clients continue working with us, but some of them didn't. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it is bad to do that. I'm not also saying that it's good to do that. It is good for a certain period. At this moment, we don't do that anymore, basically because we have so much experience, and we have so much knowledge and so much material. And we have Instagram, we have portfolios, we have samples, we have, you name it, we have everything. Google reviews, website, and you know, there's no point, there's no element of having no trust. But when you don't have website, when you don't have your business cards, when you don't have your portfolio, when you don't have all these things, now question, how do you get your foot into the door? Then you have to say, look, you know what, I will do that. There is no risk for you. I'll do the images, you're going to have them, I'm going to have some experience, and we're going to learn from that. And if you consider me for the next projects, I'm happy to do that, but that will going to be for money. Yeah. And why not? If you have done a good job, why would they choose somebody else? Now, there's no point of doing that. Of course, you can come across, let's say, somebody who is just basically trying to get a free job from everybody. Let's say they were going to phone up, oh, can you do like a sample, you know, one job as a sample? Of course, there may be somebody, but I don't really think it is a business model of trying to get free property photography from somebody that it will going to last for long. That means if that person is living with this mindset, they will soon probably run out of a business, because they'll have more enemies than friends. So I wouldn't really worry about them. I think they will have their own destiny. But it is what I know that many are doing. They do free samples, and I would consider that just as a work with no pay. Also, work with no pay is if you're just doing it as your hobby and you're doing actually this just to learn. And I know if you know other photographers, or you have done portrait photography, you're just going to go out and find your friends and say, look, is there any friend who wants to do portrait photography? I'm going to do them free of charge. Of course. Why do people do that? Because they do that because they want to do it. So if you really want to play tennis, yeah, and somebody say, look, I have a tennis court, you can come here and play for free, will you be happy? Of course you'll be happy, because that's what you want. If you are doing only this because of money, then you will never going to go play the tennis in the tennis court, because you never wanted to do that, unless they pay you. Yeah, so you'll never going to go and do any work unless they pay you. When it comes down to a point when you have to pay the bills and you have to actually provide for yourself and for your family, you cannot do that. But that is just a learning curve, and that is just a hobby, and that is something that you can start. Because property photography, there is a specific, and I will say, how can you get to train in property photography if you don't have access to properties? If you have done your homework and have done pictures at your home, then you run out of options. You need to have more and more properties to practice until you get to the point where you can say, look, this is what I do full on, only this is what I do. I only do property marketing at all. So either it's 3D virtual doors, either it is property photography. But we have now developed and have started to do the EPCs as well, because clients want to do the EPCs, and also we now started to do the inventories, yeah, as a company. But when I originally started, I started with photos, then clients asked the floor plans, so I add the floor plans, and I started with EPC, because it's basically you can do photos, floor plan, EPC in one go. When you go to property, you do 3 products, you charge for 3 products, but you only travel once. It's good, because for traveling, nobody is really paying for your travel. Nobody really pays for you to go to 9 to 5 job. They just pay when you arrive at 9 and when you leave at 5. Now, if you can achieve more in that time whilst you're at work, because in this case, you're getting paid per job, it's not per hours. So if you can do more work in a shorter time of period, in that same travel period, then you're actually increasing the value for your time, yeah, and you're becoming more efficient, yeah. And also that is the same what I wanted to touch bases on, how to actually get more money for your time. It is when you start packaging your services, yeah. And so what we have an option, we have an add-on options, yeah. When a client can just book standard photos, but also they have an opportunity to choose whether you want choice of images or you don't want choice of images. And if you give them this option, yeah, most of the times they were gonna say, look, I really care about the property, I'm gonna take choice of images. If that is just a client who wants just cheap, then they were just gonna go for the cheapest option. But before we had this option, the clients even didn't had an opportunity to pay more and request more. Now I have given them this option. Also, what we do, not at this moment, because now it is the coronavirus and everything, we don't do decluttering. But decluttering is literally when you move things around on stage and everything. At the beginning, we were including everything in the price, but we realized that we're spending too much time, and we are just simply not getting enough for the time that we are spending on the property. So now we have an option to the client. If they want the decluttering, they can choose. And why would they have this option of decluttering? It is in cases. If it's a landlord, of course, if you sell your house, and let's say houses in London, 450,000, yeah, what would you present it poorly? Yeah, there's no point. And if, let's say, you're gonna lose maybe what, 2,000, 3,000 pounds in comparison to a neighbor's property who looks nicer, and they're gonna try to put you down in the price, you know, it's not a big investment in photography if you compare how much you can lose if you drop a price. But when it comes down to landlords, they were going to be interested in staging their properties. But when it comes down, for example, in third parties, let's say a landlord has a tenant living in a property, and landlord says, look, I want to sell the property, I need the photographer to come in and do the pictures. And maybe the tenant is angry at the landlord, no, just going to say, oh, I leave it as it is. Yeah, so they were going to leave the house in complete mess. Yeah, of course, landlord wants to have the best images that they can have to get the maximum amount of money for their property. And in this case, we go there and we basically declutter. But what means decluttering? It doesn't mean cleaning. You don't go and mop the floors and clean anything, but basically all the items, you know, even let's say simple as that, in the bathroom, you have what? You have all the bottles and shampoo bottles and all the rest of the things around the bath and everything. So how do I do it? I just put them in a sink, and when you actually shoot from a level above the sink, you don't really see directly in the sink, you actually see this way. And if the sink is deep, you can have them. Or I just take those bottles, put next to my camera, because my camera is here, and I see that direction. Everything that is underneath is not visible. So it's all about just taking these items, putting next to the camera, putting the pictures, and just putting it back. But this time is paid. So client pays for that. So what happens is choice of images. So I do more images than they need. It requires more work from me, and from you. So it's more time spent. So they should be paying more for it. Decluttering takes more time. Of course, they should be paying for it. Yeah. Floor plans. Now we also provide for floor plans an opportunity to include furniture. Before we were doing just floor plans without furniture. Now we offer to our clients to include the furniture, because let's say if it's a Airbnb property, sorry, I was just drinking the tea. If it is, let's say, the Airbnb property, they want to show how many beds, how many tables, what they have, what the guests can use, and it's a good selling point. Yeah, if they don't choose it, they don't choose it. But if you are at the property and you can do decluttering, you can do the choice of images, you can add the furniture. Now you maybe of all these add-ons, you can actually have almost double the price of what you charge for just the standard standard pictures alone. Yeah. Also, if you can do the EPC, fine. The downside with the EPC is if you need to take the ladder. Yeah. Because the EPC is that you have to go in a loft and take measurements there. That's the only thing. But it's a portable ladder. You can extend it and fold it if you need. But you know, these are the options available. And you know, I know one-man bands who are like doing everything. Like one person is doing inventories, pictures, floor plans, virtual tours, and so on. I think it is okay, because that means that you are never gonna run out of work. If something is not happening, something else will happen. But it just makes everything very difficult. So I think it is good to stick to one thing, whether you do one thing or another thing. And if you don't have something, partner up with somebody else. And that's what I have learned. So for example, if you don't have time for sitting at home and editing, just send the images for somebody to edit. Yeah. At the beginning, when we started to work, then we were actually from 9 in the morning till 5, we were doing pictures. And then from 5 till maybe midnight, we were editing the pictures. Then at 9, we were again doing the pictures. And at midnight, we finished editing. Yeah, so you're going to be crazy long hours. Yeah, so if you need editing, we have editing team and we can edit them for you. We have 2 offices. One we have in Latvia. I'm from Latvia, and one we have here in UK, where it's all the operations and everything. And this is how we structure for our freelance photographers or full-time photographers. We don't request them to edit images, because they just go and do actually the work and what it is. In the same amount of time, they can actually visit more properties, and then they have the evening free, rather than having all night in editing. And of course, if you want to achieve more, you can take some later jobs, because you know that you have still some time to sleep, because you can actually earn more. Because photographers only earn whilst they are at the property and do the job. You don't earn for staying at a computer and doing editing. And that is the unseen work that nobody sees, but you have to try to communicate to clients, because you know, editing takes time. And people don't see the time that it takes to edit. But we have to consider that when we are actually pricing our cost for work. And I wanted to give you an example. I have a client, so just now, and the interesting thing is he just didn't read the email properly. So when we do choice of images, what we do, we actually give one image of each angle, watermark them, and send to the client, and we say, please choose the images that you want us to edit, because no point for us to edit all the images if they only need, let's say, 10 images, and there's no point for me to edit 30 images. It's just a waste of time. So now I send them these unedit them images, and we write them there that this is not the final quality. Please make your selection. We're going to edit those images. Now I receive a phone call from this person saying, oh, these images are not great. Look at the quality, look at the light, look at this. And he didn't even read that it says that it is not edited. Now, what I'm trying to say, he was unhappy about the work because he's seen that it is, and he's saying, oh, I've been working with you for a long time and the quality is not the same. And he spotted it really, like straight away. He spotted and straight away was on a call. Now, then I said, look, you just have to select the images that you want, and then we're going to edit them. So what we did, we edit the images and sent to him back. And of course, the result is completely different. So that is what people don't see, and they don't know how much you spend at editing. But it is not just that you go to a property and you don't have to do anything at home afterwards. Does anybody have any question in regards this? Yeah, Federica? You need to unmute yourself. Unmute, we don't hear you. Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So yes, basically my question is, who does your editing?
We have team in Latvia. We have 2 offices. So I'm from Latvia. We have office in Latvia.
Okay, and then
They deal with all.
so I got some question even from before what we was doing before. So you're talking about COVID-19 stuff like that, which I agree about customers and send them the letters and to catch new customers, stuff like that. The question is, I have a few questions. Is do we have a customer at the moment? And another question is, when you send the letters to find new customers, how do you get the address? Do you buy a mailing list? You do just how do you say, networking? And then for APC, do you provide training? Because I don't know how to do APC. I mean, I agree with you that every people should do one things. I mean, each one of us should do just one things and do it properly as pictures or floor plan, whatever it is. So, but do you do training for APC? And and then yes, this is more or less the question that I got.
So here are a few questions. Yeah. So first question was, how do I get the clients in COVID? Well, that was the question.
Yeah, no. The first question is, do we at the moment?
Do we have?
Yeah, okay, do we have a customer? Because I got a problem. I know I mentioned you before that I did something like maybe 4 flats every day in a week. But at the moment, I'm really struggling with that. Because I used to work for a major of my client. They were about Airbnb.
Yeah.
So as you know now, is everything stuck? Is everything stopped? So I at the moment I do not have any customer. So do you have a customer? And what about you? You said we should get new customer, which I totally agree with you. Yeah. You're sending a letter, but do you have a mailing list? We should buy a mailing list. You know what I mean?
One question at a time. Yeah. So let's
no problem.
About the clients. Yes, the answer is yes, we do have clients. If you would ask to me, do we have more clients than we had before? I would say we don't have so much work as it was before, but so does we don't have enough people who are doing the job like before. But I would say at the moment is this: if we forward this amount of clients and this amount of people who are working, at the moment people don't want to work because they get paid for not working. And why would you work if you can stay at home and not work? Of course. Why? What's the point? And then the clients actually also were less, but they are here. So now so the people who are working are less, but clients are less as well because simply of the current situation. But those who are here, they are still more than the people who want to work at the moment. And your situation you're in, you mentioned you're in Airbnb properties. Yes. Airbnb, it's basically hotels and everything, and hotels are completely closed, so nobody is running hotels. And everybody who was looking into doing Airbnbs, they are looking how to get rid of them at the moment. And what they do long lets at the moment, because the government doesn't allow you to do it. And all of a sudden you have a property or maybe few properties that are empty, and the property, let's say 1 bedroom flat, 1,000, 1,200, depends on which area, maybe £900 per month. If you have 2 of those properties empty, that's £3,000 of expense. Nobody can have this. They just need to get rid of it and just get long lets or whatever. Therefore, at the moment, whoever were doing the Airbnb, they had the images already because they were doing this for Airbnb and they had those images prepared. So they don't need our services. But the estate agents who were actually planning and everything before this lockdown, now all of a sudden they have properties that they need to market, but there's no people who want to do the photography. And all of a sudden now the lockdown is being kind of eased off for this property industry. And all of a sudden there is not enough photographers, but there is more work. And at the moment we find ourselves running and actually being very busy. Yeah, that is where I find myself, and that is where I see other photographers from this Facebook group. So it's just the property photography community, where I have seen that other people are going through this as well. Even speaking to other property photographer just today, he was mentioning, oh, he works for 2 companies. I think he didn't mention what the names of the company, but he said the last 2 weeks those companies keeping him busy from morning till evening. Yeah, and this is what it is. But now the question is, who are your clients? If your clients are Airbnb clients at the moment, they just want to get rid of it and they are not looking to expand or to do anything else. It's going to be quiet for a while until all the travel we're going to go back to normal. But even the travel restrictions are in place, so it is not happening. Estate agents are moving forward because estate agents, first of all, are driven by commission. And if you don't do the job, you don't get commission, you don't have money, that means you're not happy. And they're happy only when they do something. And how they can get the commissions is actually by doing the deals. The second thing is, now many people are in financial difficulties because you have tenants who cannot pay the bills. Now you have no income because your business is not working, or you may be done unemployed. And now you have mortgages to pay and you cannot pay them. And all of a sudden you realize, I need to sell my property, because if you do not sell your property, the bank are going to take your property and you lose everything. But if you will sell it now, then if the property has increased in value, you at least get that the profit margin out, pay back the bank, and you at least have some money. So there are those people who are desperate to sell. Then there are those agents who must do the deals because otherwise they don't get paid, because they are looking only at the numbers and they are actually based on commissions. And at the moment it is basically they just try to push it through. So estate agents are the ones who make this environment to come alive, because everybody else is paid for staying back. Yeah. And that would be the answer for you. Developers, you have to think that developers are in a situation where you develop property, but it is not in a stage where you can rent it out. That means there's no money. Now you have finances, you have contracts, you have other things, everything is placed on hold. All of a sudden now you have a property that it's just costing you money. Now they want quickly everything to be done and just get it off, because they cannot wait for a long period of time to wait for the prices to go up, because they have finances, interest charge, and the rest of the things that they just need to get rid of it more than ever. Yeah, and that's the second thing that is pushing everything forward. Yeah, so I think if your clients is Airbnb, maybe not the best time at the moment. If your clients here are estate agents, it is a good time. Yes, developers, it is a good time as well. In regards interior designers, home stagers, I have had some inquiries, but I'm not familiar whether it is now booming or it is going down, where all this industry are going to go at the moment. But in general, if you cover a spectrum of this, then it is great. Like Andre here, yeah, Federico. So Andre here, who is in a meeting, so he was doing a commercial properties like hotels. He is in the same situation as you are, because he said he was doing a commercial, properties, and now all of a sudden, there's nothing to do at the moment, and it's understandable why not. But I can tell you from my own experience, we at the moment have more work than actually people who want to work. Yeah. Now the next question, second question, if I remember it,
it was do you have a mailing list about and then later you contact them? You do
very good. So yes, we do have mailing list. Have we purchased it? We haven't purchased it. There is options to purchase. I wouldn't know where to purchase, probably from some landlord website or whatever, but you can definitely do that. I think it will going to save time on getting the email addresses and the rest of the thing and so on. Yeah, it is an option, and I'm not saying it's a bad option. It is just an option. How do I have the email addresses? You just go on Google, you have a look at the estate agencies that you have around yourself, and you see the email address. Then you just send them and say, hello, my name is Federico, I'm the local photographer. And this is just a straightforward. I will say this statistic. Do not expect, not to disencourage you. Do not expect that you're going to send an email, they will reply straight away. Yeah, but it's a numbers game. I know that if you send more emails out, then there will be always somebody who will reply. So if they don't reply to the first email, that's fine. Because I will gonna give you an example. When I started property photography, now I went to the local estate agents next to my house. So I go to the first one and I say, "Hi, my name is Peter. I want to do property photography, and I'm willing to do it for free because I want to learn it." Yeah. And they say, no, we don't need it. Now you have rejection from the first client. Now I go to the next client. I said, because estate agents are like on a corner, like many of the offices. I just go to the next one quickly before I get frustrated with all this. I go in and I say, hi, my name is Peter. I'm just looking whether you have any work in property photography. They say no. I go to the next one. I say, hi, my name is Peter. I'm looking for work in property photography. They say no. I go to the next one. I say, hi, my name is Peter. I'm looking for property photography work. And they say no. And I go to the next one. I say, hi, my name is Peter. I'm looking for property photography job. And he said, oh, hey, how are you? And that's the fifth one. Can you imagine? Yeah. But what happened? He didn't know, because I didn't had the chance to tell him that I'm a property photographer. I said, oh, hello, how are you? And he just started to talk to me. And he was actually an estate agent who was waiting for his tenant to come in. And he never seen the tenant in face. So he thinks that I'm the tenant. So we start to chat up a little bit. And once we open up the conversation, I was able to actually say, look, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. And he said, no problem. I'm going to give you a go. Yeah. But what I tried to say, even if I go face to face, you face that rejection. If you send an email, you also will have the rejection. But that rejection will not going to be directly like, oh, leave me, but it will just going to be they will ignore you, but it's fine. They may come back in a later stage, but of course, like you said, you have no time to wait for that later stage because the Airbnb industry is not working. You have to have work at the moment, straight away, immediately. Yeah, that means you just have to keep on doing it, because if you run your business, you are a one-man band at the beginning before you have people who you can employ. So you have to either complete the job and work on actually doing the job, or you have to actually work on getting the job. Yeah. And if you know my job is 8 hours a day, then 8 hours a day look for clients. Yeah. And if you're going to spend 8 hours on the Google and look at the estate agency websites, you're going to have your own mailing list. Simple as that. Can you imagine how many estate agencies you could be able to approach in 8 hours? And that's just one day. Can you imagine just one day how much you can achieve in one day? Sometimes we wait when everything will come to us, but it's not going to come to us. The hardest part in everything is like running a car. So when you start a car, it's heavy. So you have to pump a lot of petrol in, and then it starts to move. Why the car uses more petrol in city? Because you start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. Now, what that means, you have to put a lot of effort to get something moving. When you go on a highway or motorway, then the car uses less petrol. Why? Because there is a movement, and you just have to keep filling a little bit of the petrol to keep that movement. So basically, less effort is needed, and you can achieve greater distances. So you can travel farther and quicker with less energy input. And that's the same here. Now, if you start your business, stop your business, start your business, stop your business, you will always have to spend energy and effort and energy and effort. But if you don't give up on that, and once you have started to do it, you just have to do a little bit, you just have to do a little bit, you just have to do a little bit, and you're going to go much faster. And that is what it is. And this is what I'm trying to say. So if you have approached them, then do a follow-up. Yeah, Maybe after 1 month or a few weeks, just say, hello, have you read my email? You can give them a phone call and you can walk in that office yourself. And, you know, it's a level of comfort and how confident you are and everything. But like with everything in life, if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for you. And sorry to bring it to you, but that's the only way how we can move forward. The third thing is you were mentioning was EPCs. Yes, for EPCs, you have to have accreditation. And to get the accreditation, you have to go to courses. When you go to courses, they're going to issue a certificate once you pass the test. But what that means, that you have to pay for those courses, and those courses cost from £800 to £1,000. So I would not say that it is worth doing it if you just want to do it just for fun, because EPCs is not something that we're just going to go like rolling. At the moment, in this current situation, virtual tours are going to bring you more money in than any EPC or anything else. Yeah, and that is what Andre was asking. So if you would ask to me, should I do virtual tours or should I do EPC? I said do virtual tours. Yeah. And there are multiple ways of how to do and multiple platforms to use and everything else. We are literally busy with virtual tours. We had to buy 2 extra cameras just to cope with the amount of work that we have on virtual tours. I hope I answer your questions.
Yeah. You know. So yeah, basically I do even virtual tours.
Exactly, that's very good.
Yeah, but you know, as you said, my problem as Andrew is the same, which is I worked for the past with the Airbnb or hotel. So at the moment they are stuck, they are stopped. So yeah, this is the reason why I haven't got any job at the moment. You know.
Yeah. I 100% I understand what you mean, and I mean we can get in touch. We can arrange and see how we can work together, because we have work and I have seen your work, and we can actually see whether we can provide you some work with that as well.
Yeah, you can see my work is even on. I got my website, or you can see my work on my Instagram. I follow you on Instagram, and oh yeah.
Then you see what we were doing the last weekend, yeah.
Sorry.
Then you have seen what we were doing last weekend, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw the work that I sent to you is the last work that I did, you know, last week. So it's the first work after the coronavirus situation, because I'm stopped in about last 2 months.
Yeah,
you know, for 2 months I did nothing. I mean, I agree with you about the people who does nothing and prefer to stay home and get money for the government. But you know, it's never enough. I mean, if you have a family, you got a lot of expenses, you know, bills and rent, and because as you said, the big stuff is get the car moved, but to fill the car is a lot of money. You know, the petrol does cost money. So when the car stops, is trouble. It's a big trouble. You know, it's a problem. You get in a trouble.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this. And so what I wanted to just come to a conclusion, because we are coming to an end. If anybody were going to want to stay a little bit longer, I'm happy to stay for another half an hour. Anybody else had any question from what we were discussing today?
No.
All right. So if no, then
just better. Do you think that it's because this coronavirus and stuff like that? You said there is no more people who want to work because they are scared about catch this virus and stuff like that. Do we should raise up our you should raise up the money that we ask for the customers?
We have done so. Yes, we have done. Yeah.
I mean, I used to ask, for example, £75 sometimes for any site's house, you know, and just give them 12 pictures, no more than 12. So, you know, I start between 8 up to 12 pictures. Do you think at the moment we could raise up the price.
Yeah, I think at this moment is let me put this way: if you don't have clients at the moment, yeah, like you said, you don't have clients, it's not a smart move, because by approaching clients with now higher prices, you're not going to basically have more clients. It's not going to be something that brings them to you. If you would be in a situation where you have a lot of clients but not enough time to complete the work, then of course you can kill yourself just running, or you can say, look, I increase the price, and then those ones who want to pay less, they're going to go, and I'll focus on those who are actually paying more. And eventually you're just going to change your time for money and stop doing for less and do for more. But that is in a position where you are in a position of the power, position of the strength. But if you are in a position where you're looking for clients, I wouldn't recommend. It's just my personal opinion. That's how I find it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Finish up this, and if you want to stay for a while and chat, we can do that. I'm happy to stay for another half an hour. So what it is, we're going to do next meeting in 2 weeks' time, Tuesday on the 30th of June. Yeah, and I think we're going to keep it to the same 7 p.m. After, I was just going to share the link again in the Meetup group. I'm not sure if you are in the Meetup group, then I will going to share the link because I don't have all your email addresses and I don't know how to keep you all guys posted, but I will show you this link here. That is basically a property photographers meetup group where I was just going to be creating those events. I'm looking forward to actually engage other property photographers who have different opinions, different insights, and basically cross-training, because they have some insights and they have some knowledge that I don't know, and I may be helping you as well. And I think it's a good environment, because I thought to myself, you know, if I don't know what to do and how to do, should I just be reading all the information, trying to understand on my own, or actually it is easier when I just meet once in a few weeks, speak to people in the industry, find out what you're doing, how we are doing, and then actually plan accordingly, instead of just doing one-man band and trying to figure out everything on my own. So that is why we do it, and also just to see who is out there and what is happening. Because especially after this coronavirus, I think everything we're going to change. And one thing for sure we're going to change, everything we're going to go more towards the virtual tours. That is, I have seen the trend, and I see that the government and everybody is promoting this. I have seen the increase on the images. Now the question is how we can adjust to it. We have to adjust to it, otherwise we're going to end up in the other side of history. As the things move on, we're going to be just being left behind. Yeah. The question about the work in general, like, is there work in property photography? Yes, there is work. The question is how much clients you have, and then what type of clients. Like you mentioned, Andre and Federico, you mentioned that you know, hotels are quiet at the moment, but there is so much more other work that we can do. Yeah. And also there are private clients as well. So private clients are quite active at this period as well. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. So if you have to leave, you can leave, and we're just going to stay here for another half an hour, exchange some questions and answers, and then we can meet on next month on the 30th of July.
Yeah, Peter, if I can, I got a few questions. So you said you just say a bit more time.